It begins with a case from northern India, one involving a 19-year-old girl whose body was found in a condition most people couldn't even imagine. She had disappeared from her home just a couple of days earlier, and when her remains were finally discovered, her head wasn't attached to her body, and the skin on her face was completely gone. Anyone hearing this can picture the horror she must have gone through. And yet, even after seeing the condition in which she was found, the local authorities initially dismissed it as a suicide. On top of that, people in the region kept shifting their opinions constantly, adding more confusion to an already disturbing investigation. Why was this happening? To understand it, we have to walk into the case of Manisha Singh. Manisha was from Haryana's Bhiwani district. At just 19, she worked as a teacher at a small private play school in her village, Singhani. She came from a struggling lower-middle-class family, and life at home hadn't been easy. So Manisha helped out the only way she could, by taking this teaching job. She had only completed high school, but she had bigger dreams. She wanted to become a nurse someday, someone who could help save lives. And that's why, on August 11th, after finishing her shift at the play school around 2 in the afternoon, she went to a nearby nursing college. She wanted information about their B.Sc. nursing program because she hoped to enroll there soon. Of course, she had no idea that the future she was trying to build, one that could have lifted her family out of their struggles, would never come. That same day, around 6 in the evening, her father, Sanjay Singh, received a missed call from her phone. She still hadn't returned home, so he called her back immediately. But she didn't answer. And after that, no matter how many times her family tried calling, the phone just rang without anyone picking up. This wasn't like her at all. She wasn't the kind of girl who stayed out late without telling anyone, and she never ignored calls from home. Her family began panicking and rushed to the police station. They tried to file a missing person report, but the officers refused to take it seriously. They wouldn't even register the complaint. You might wonder why the police acted this way, but according to the officers, she was probably out somewhere on her own and would return on her own. It was supposed to be an ordinary day in a quiet rural community. But what happened to a 19-year-old young woman turned into one of the most heartbreaking cases her town had ever seen. Her family had been searching for her for 2 long days. And when authorities finally located her, far from home, in an empty field, the condition in which she was found left the entire community shaken. Even then, officers on the scene initially dismissed the situation as not suspicious, something the family could never understand. This is the case of Manisha Singh. Manisha lived with her family in a small village and worked as a preschool teacher. Her family didn't have much, and she took the job to support them while still trying to continue her own education. She had completed high school and dreamed of becoming a nurse. She wanted to help people build a better life and lift her family out of financial struggle. On August 11th, after finishing her shift at the school around 2 p.m., she visited a nursing college. She hoped to learn more about their BSc nursing program and maybe even begin the admission process. She was planning for her future, something she talked about often. But that future never came. Later that evening, around 6 p.m., her father received a missed call from Manisha's phone. When he called back, no one answered. After that, every call the family made went unanswered. That was not like Manisha at all. She was responsible, disciplined, and always kept her family informed. Worried sick, her family reached out to the local police. But instead of taking immediate action, officers brushed the family off. They suggested she may have left home by choice and would probably return in a couple of days. But her family knew her better than anyone. They insisted something was wrong. After enough pressure, authorities finally registered a missing person report. During the investigation, CCTV from the preschool confirmed she left work at 1:58 p.m. From there, she was seen traveling toward the nursing college she planned to visit. But when officers reached the college, they found 3 men on the premises, intoxicated, according to the report. When questioned, the men claimed that no girl had visited the college that day and that the institution had supposedly closed early around 1 p.m. Their statements didn't match the footage, raising even more questions. Then, on August 13th, 2 days after Manisha disappeared, a local farmer came across a body in an open field. He immediately notified authorities. When police arrived and identified the remains, it was confirmed to be Manisha. Residents from nearby areas started gathering at the scene, and even they immediately understood that this was not a natural death. The condition she was found in suggested something deeply wrong had taken place. But the shock came when authorities insisted that it was not a homicide and hinted that she might have harmed herself, something her family strongly rejected. They refused to perform her final rites until the truth was uncovered and those responsible were held accountable. According to officials, a handwritten note was reportedly found near Manisha's body, something they quickly labeled as a suicide note. They claimed the note mentioned stress and family pressure. Some sources even suggested that CCTV showed her purchasing a large amount of insecticide earlier that day. But the first eyewitness who discovered the body strongly disagreed with the police version. In fact, he challenged almost every detail. He claimed he never saw any note at the scene. And to him, nothing about the situation looked like something Manisha could have possibly done to herself. He later said, "I was the one who first saw the body. I was right there. Anyone who saw that scene wouldn't believe it was suicide. Not a single person here would." When questions were raised about the condition of her face, officials pointed to the autopsy report. They stated that after her death, wild animals may have disturbed parts of her face, which explained the injuries. But residents who saw the scene were not convinced. They felt too many things didn't align with what the authorities were claiming. The inconsistencies started piling up. Manisha supposedly consumed poison far from home, yet her throat appeared injured afterward. Animals reportedly disturbed the body. A note suddenly appeared that no eyewitness recalls seeing, and authorities insisted there was nothing suspicious. Locals simply could not accept this version. People from surrounding villages began protesting, demanding a proper investigation and answers that made sense. From the very beginning, Manisha's parents felt the system had failed them. First, officers refused to even file a missing person report. Then, when police finally visited the college she had mentioned, administrators initially refused to share CCTV footage. Later, when the footage was finally handed over, her father claimed that it looked edited, like parts had been removed or altered. The more people looked into this case, the more questions surfaced and the fewer answers they found. In the days that followed, protests grew across Haryana. Crowds demanded answers, and the pressure on the local government kept rising. Eventually, authorities were forced to take action. The district police chief was transferred, and 5 officers were suspended due to how the case had been handled. Just to be clear, so far, none of the forensic examinations have officially confirmed whether Manisha was harmed before her death or whether anything was done to her body afterward. These are still statements coming from local officials, and people aren't fully convinced. Because of the massive public outcry, internet services in the Bhavani region were temporarily shut down. And finally, the government decided to transfer the case to the Central Bureau of Investigation, the CBI, hoping for a more transparent and thorough investigation. Only after this decision did Manisha's family agree to perform her final rites on August 21st. They did it with one hope in their hearts, that someday, justice would reach their daughter. Manisha's parents lost an ambitious young girl who carried so many dreams for their family. Her grandfather later said that he had promised her he would sell his cattle if that's what it took to help cover her nursing college fees. That's how much faith her family had in her future. But this case is about more than one tragedy. It highlights how difficult things can become when investigations don't move quickly, something people in India talk about often. Even right after Independence Day celebrations, this case reminded many that there are still challenges within the system that need attention. Today, Manisha's home is filled with women from the village coming together to support the grieving family. Her classmates have placed flowers at the school gate in her memory. And across the internet, people are demanding justice. She is not alone. Thousands stand with her. And like many viewers who follow stories like this, we can only hope that the truth comes out soon. If there was no foul play, that's one thing. But if something did happen, and it went unnoticed because the investigation wasn't handled the way it should have been, then there's no telling how often this could repeat. For now, the case is paused until the CBI concludes its findings. I hope you're safe. I hope you're well. Stay close to the people you care about. And I'll see you in the next one.